Hope everyone is doing well. Welcome to another edition of a Webinar Wednesday. It's great to be with everyone. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. I am Jason there on the left, and we are very lucky to be joined by David Rocklin, who is the digital strategist here at Brilliant Directories. He's also put together great tips for us for today's webinar, super useful. So David, thanks for taking the time to join us and helping us out today.
Hey, everybody. So glad to be back with you for Webinar Wednesday 201. We had our big webinar number 200 2 weeks ago. So thank you for everybody who joined us in there. That was a lot of fun. And yeah, really looking forward to the tips that we have coming up in this webinar related to some member search settings, some really useful stuff there.
Definitely. And we are streaming on YouTube Live. So our friends out there in YouTube, welcome to the webinar. I also invite you to subscribe to the Brilliant Directories YouTube channel. You can head on over to brilliantdirectories.com/YouTube and click on the subscribe button. We will share a link in the comments for you there. It's a great way to get notified as soon as the webinars are starting. The replays are available, feature tutorials are online, tips of the week, and more. And one of the benefits of streaming on YouTube is the replay video will be immediately available after the webinar, and we will post that in the Brilliant Directories Facebook group. Also recommend and invite everyone to join us there. You can head on over to brilliantdirectories.com/Facebook. It's a great way to connect with fellow directory and membership website owners. I'm in there myself. Lots of good questions, people asking for feedback, strategy questions, technical questions, workarounds. It's a really constructive and positive group. So we certainly invite everyone to join us there. And if you have your Brilliant Directories site, but you don't have the Brilliant Directories app yet, just log into your app store, whether it's Apple or Android, and search for Brilliant Directories. It's a great way to stay in touch with all your Brilliant Directory sites. You can see new members, new revenue, and more. And I've been mentioning this a few times. We are on the cusp of releasing a second version of this. That is, our aim is to provide you with real-time push notifications. So as soon as you have any revenue generated on your site, leads come in, form inquiries, and more, you can get pinged on the go in real time. We expect that to be released in the next few months, hopefully sooner than later, but we'll definitely make sure to keep the community updated. And I do see a lot of new names and faces, so welcome to Webinar Wednesday. Just a little bit about what Webinar Wednesday is and how you can get the most out of it, week after week. And a big thanks to the Brilliant Directories community. Lots of new features and updates are released into the platform. And we like to use Webinar Wednesday as a way to share some of those newer updates with you, specifically updates that can help you grow your community and website a lot faster. So we'll cover topics such as how to increase traffic, convert your website visitors into members, identifying revenue opportunities, and more. And what's nice about the Webinar Wednesday time that we have together is that you can ask us questions. You can start typing them into the comments now, and we will have plenty of time today to get to questions. But also, if you're interested in learning the newer features built into the Brilliant Directories platform in real time, Webinar Wednesday is the quickest way to get word of those updates. All right. And before we move on to the tips for this week, we have, like I mentioned, some lab updates to share with you guys. These are freshly released. I'll breeze through this list there. Some useful ones here. I'll start right here at the top. There is a new webhook. If you're not familiar with webhooks, it's a way to send data that's happening on your BD site out to third-party platforms. This is more useful for developers and people using different CRMs and other platforms, and they want their BD site to talk to those platforms. So there is a new one. It is a lead webhook, and it is triggered when a member accepts or declines a lead. Let me quickly show you where that is in the admin area. So we're going to head on over to Developer Hub, where the webhook settings are. And over here, we can go to webhooks. And once here, I'll just filter for the word lead. And this is the new one, lead accept or decline lead. So this is useful if you're tracking the status of leads and how members are interacting with the leads they're receiving. Maybe when they decline a lead, you want to trigger a certain email to be sent and vice versa. This webhook can now support those actions. All right, also related to leads, and this one is with the Leads API, also for developers. With the Brilliant Directories API, you can actually create records on your site from third-party sources. So if you're capturing leads somewhere else, maybe from another landing page off your BD site using Jotform or Typeform, you can then add those leads to your BD site. There's other actions as well. And with this update, prior to this, when you wanted to create a lead using the API, specifically related to adding the category name, the top sub and sub level category for that lead, you'd have to send over the category ID number. And while that's very precise and useful, it's not very user friendly. So the Leads API now supports sending the category name. So if you had a top level category of plumber as example, and the category ID for that is, say, 20. Rather than sending the category ID, you can just send over the category name for plumber. If you send both over, the category ID will take priority since it is more specific. But you don't need to send the category ID as well. And I do want to share, we do have, again, for the developers out there, all the API endpoints. I'm going to share this in the chat here in the comments. And I'll just quickly show you also what the name of those settings are. So under leads, this is for creating and updating leads. These are all the variables you can pass in the API. Right here at the bottom, you can have top category name, subcategory, subcategory, and as long as the names you're sending match those already in your site, it will create the lead and assign it to these categories. So a lot easier there. All right, this next one is pretty useful. I thought it was pretty cool what the team created here. With the Brilliant Directories platform, what's incredibly useful and powerful is all the emailing can be done within the platform, whether you're sending a newsletter blast to a bulk group of members. You can also send one-off emails to individual members or to whoever you'd like to. So we've recently added the ability to CC and BCC when sending one-off emails, as well as modifying the reply to email address. Let me quickly show you where that is, and I think some of you might find this useful. So under email, you can click on compose email, just like if you were in your Gmail or Hotmail or wherever you might be, or Outlook. And once this pops up here, there we go. So I'll show you what's new. So if you didn't know, you could compose and send emails. You can choose where you want this to come from. This is our demo site here. So I can send it from JSON or admin or events. And what's new here are a few things. I'll start with the reply to. So I don't have to set a different reply to, but I could. Maybe I want replies back to this to come to JSON, even though the email is from events. And then what's nice is you can have up to 5 primary recipients. So I'll just do JJ at JJ.com, and we'll do HH at HH.com. Whoops. And one other thing you can do here is you can choose if you want, if you're going to send it to multiple people, if you want it to all happen in one email or send one per recipient. So one email will go to JJ, one email will go to HH. Or if you want them to just be all sent with the same email. And in addition to that, you can add CCs. So maybe you want to CC the admin of the site. And maybe you want to BCC someone, maybe yourself or, maybe legal at your site for whatever. But now you basically have really good functionality for sending emails here. And of course, if you didn't know, you can pre-select a template on your site here. I'll just choose a template. This is our demo site. Not sure what's going to pop up here. Nothing popped up here. I guess it's an empty template, but you now have these controls. And what's really nice is if you go to search members on your page, just one last note about this one here. If you wanted to kind of send a one-off email to someone, you can also just find the member and hit compose email. And it will pre-populate with the email address that is connected to their site here. So we see here, this was an imported record, so it's not a real email address, but we see that the primary recipient is filled in with that email address. So a nice little quality of life updates there for sending emails. This next one here is not really an update, but just a note for ourselves. When we're manually changing the account status of a member, it does not auto cancel or pause any active subscriptions they might have or payment plans they might have. So what we've done here is when you go to quick edit, if you wanted to manually change a member status from active to on hold, there is this note here now. It says important. Changing the account status will not cancel or pause active billing subscriptions. But what's helpful is there is a quick link here. And if you click on manage subscriptions, it will take you and show you if that member has any active subscriptions. In this case, this member does not have any active subscriptions, so changing their account status wouldn't matter. But if somebody's active and you're setting them on hold, you might want to stop their active subscriptions and choose to restart them again later in the future. All right, this next one here, I thought also very helpful. As the admin and owner of your websites, you can invite staff, colleagues, friends, family to also have admin accounts and work on your site with you. And you can send invites for them to join your site. Now you can actually see if there are any outstanding and pending invites you've sent, and you can choose to resend the invitation email or revoke the invitation as well. I can quickly show you where that is. If we go to your settings and go to admin accounts. So here's an example. I sent an invite to jj@jj.com. That seems to be the email we're using today as a test, but we could see pending admin invites. And if you don't know how to do this, when you're in the admin accounts area of the admin area, in the top right here, you can invite admin via email. You can enter their email address, set their role, and then send off the invitation. So what's new here is you can revoke the invite. Maybe you no longer need to allow them access to the site, or you can resend the invite if maybe they didn't receive it, or it's been buried in their inbox somewhere. So you have those two actions here now. The next one here is for right to left language support. Now, we did have this previously, but more recently, and thanks to our friends who were taking advantage of the right to left language support, sites that are in Hebrew or Arabic or other sites that read right to left. We got some helpful insight from them on how the front end layout should be. Probably a little bit more work to do on that, but it's in a really good place now. So we have improved right to left language support as well as the front end layout and user interface, the UI for that. So thank you for all who contributed your help with that. And this next one is how you connect your domain names. Up until now, there were two ways. If you've already connected your domain to your BD site, you really don't need to worry about this. But prior to this update, the two methods were pointing your name server, which is really simple and easy way to do it, or pointing your A record. The issue with the A record is it kind of locks your site into the server you're connected to. And that it's not good for load balancing and giving you an optimized experience. So now we've released the ability to connect via CNAME, just as simple as connecting with A records. And when you go to the domain manager, this is one of the options and there's instructions there. But what's more important about the CNAME, it is going to segue and lead us into the ability to offer subfolder hosting for your site. So for example, if you have an existing WordPress site, you'll be able to designate a URL of that existing site, and that is where your Brilliant Directory site will load and display. We're not quite there yet, but CNAME is the first step to that, and I'm really excited about that because that will allow you to add your BD site to an existing site that you already have online. So really excited for that coming soon. And we just submitted our third WordPress plugin. We've been working this year to have some WordPress plugins for our friends who are either migrating or using their BD site along with their WordPress site. This is currently in the WordPress review process for plugins, and it will allow you to sync popular WordPress form plugins. So if you have a WordPress site with forms on it using popular form plugins, you can send those submissions to your BD site to create member records, lead records, and more. So if you're handy with WordPress and you use it for landing pages, it can be another channel where you sign up members or you generate leads for your site. I'll quickly show you, have a sample of what this looks like. So if you were, this should be released in early June. With this new add-on, you'll have a BD Forms sync sidebar here. And all you do is you connect your BD API credentials. And when you do that, you can create a new sync. I'll just kind of go through a very quick overview here. So you would choose your WordPress form plugin. It's going to start with Contact Form 7, but it will have support for Gravity Forms, Ninja Forms, and WP Forms. That should cover about 80 to 90% of WordPress form plugins. And when you choose the plugin you're using, you can choose one of the forms you've created for that plugin. And from there, very easily, you can choose when that form is submitted, if you'd like to create a member or a lead on your BD site. And then all you do is map the fields of that form to the BD site form fields, which are populated here. So for example, the email from the form could be the lead email, and so on. And what's really nice about this is you can actually send custom data fields with the lead submission. So if you wanted to, for example, create a field called source. Oops, misspelling that there. You can say, my WordPress site, and you'll know that that'll be an internal data for you to have that data passed along with the submission. So that should be released in early June. Super excited about that. And of course, lots of other updates on the way. It would take too long to go through all of them, but big shout out to the BD community. We're all working together to make the platform better and stronger and more robust for everyone. And if you have any questions about these, feel free to type them into the comments. We will get to them, or if you have any comments that you wanted to mention about them. But with that, what we'll do is we can move on to the BD quick tips. Super useful, especially if you have a location-based website. If you're national or statewide, some of these quick tips should definitely come in handy for you today. So with that, if it's all right, David, I'll pass things over to you.
Yeah, we love to cover some of the more overlooked features within the BD platform here in this BD Quick Tips segment here. So we picked a few similar settings. They all do somewhat the same thing, but to a different extent. And these are all related to the search settings. So within your website's general settings and in search settings, you can find each of these three settings that we'll get into here. But first, we thought it would be a good idea to do a really quick overview of the default search radius setting, because all of these do affect that in some way. So the default search radius, this is another setting also within general settings and search settings, and you can select the default search radius for your site. So when somebody is conducting a location-based search, say you have a doctor directory and they want to find doctors near them, they put in their zip code, their city, their street address. You then, as the website admin, will set the default search radius. So when somebody does their location-based search, they'll be presented with members within 50 miles, 100 miles, whatever you happen to set that default search radius as. So you can think of this default search radius. You can kind of imagine the image that we have here on the slide as kind of a circle around the searched location. And then the members that are within that circle are going to be the ones that will be displayed in the search results to the person conducting the search on your website. So what happens then if the strict settings are those three settings that we'll get into here in just a moment? And these strict settings are strict postal code, strict city, and then enforced state and country. So these act as limitations on the default search radius. So if any of these three settings are enabled, they'll override the default search radius, and they kind of act as hard boundaries on that radius. So simplified here, if you kind of just want your member search results, location-based search results to work very simply, if a member is within the search radius, then they display, then you won't want to touch any of these three settings here. You'll want to leave them disabled. When you enable any of these three settings, even if a member's listing is technically within the radius of the location that's searched, it's not going to appear in the search results if it's outside of that zip code, that city, or that region, whichever is set by the respective strict setting that might be enabled. So hopefully that kind of gives you a general overview here. I think it'll make a little bit more sense as we get into the specific settings. Before we do that, Jason, anything that you think we should add here as an overview?
Yeah, I think you've explained it really well. I guess is when we don't want to box in the results, when we want to give the maximum number of results, we would not enforce strict postal, strict city, or state and country limits. we would just let the natural radius of what we've allowed fall within the results. So if you're searching, for example, Los Angeles, and you want to give the user maximum results, let's say you have your search radius set to 200, which is huge. They might get results in Nevada, for example, or in Mexico if you didn't have the strict settings enabled, which has its pros because the visitor will get more results. But we don't want to show the visitor results that are not relevant to their search. And that is where these settings come in very handy, because we can actually give a better search experience to the visitor by boxing in certain regions. If we don't want to box in postal code, maybe that's too specific. Maybe we just want to box in and limit searches to the city that were searched. So before we go to the next slide, though, David, I'll just jump into the general settings on where these settings are, and then we can continue with the next slides where we're going to talk about the strict postal code, strict city, and enforcing the state and country borders. So if we go to settings and general settings, once we're here, we have localization as one of the tabs, which is super useful. You could set your primary country, language, the search settings is where we want to go, but the localization settings are also useful. So in search settings, this is kind of the logic of searches. And what David was just referring to was the default search radius setting. So if someone searches Los Angeles, how far out do we want our visitor to see results? Do we just want them to see 1 mile worth of results neighboring and nearby Los Angeles? Or do we want to provide them with 1,000-mile radius, which would basically be the entire country, and probably not the best application? So as the website owner, you can choose, and the focus of your website, you can choose the right amount of radius generally to offer to a user. I personally like, if you're unsure, just stick with either 10 to 50 would be a good rate, because we don't want to limit the visitor too much, especially for larger and more vast regions. And the settings we're going to talk to in these next few slides are the strict postal code match, strict city match, and the enforce state and country borders, and why you would or would not want to enable or disable some of these.
Excellent. Great tips there. So yeah, going into the first one here, the strict postal code match. So you set this if the search results have to, you would enable this if you want the search results to exactly match the zip code that the person visiting your website entered when they're doing their search. Again, this is in all three of these settings are going to be in that search settings tab in your general settings. So with this one, you would enable it for an exact match or disable it if you, like Jason was saying, want to include any nearby areas that still fall within your default search radius. So for example, if somebody types in the zip code 90210 because they want to search Beverly Hills, for example, if this setting is enabled, they will only see member listings that are within the 90210 zip code. If it's disabled, they might see results from other Los Angeles-based zip codes if those fall within your default search radius. So this is good for more kind of super hyper local service type websites. And then you might want to disable this if some of your website visitors might be searching for results in small towns or sparse regions where maybe they're used to driving 1, 2, 3 hours to get to different businesses because there might just not be a lot around them. Then in that case, if those are your types of visitors, you'd want to leave this disabled because you want to provide them with theoretically as many search results that would be relevant to them. And so the next one here, very similar. Again, all three of these are very similar. They're just kind of to different extents. So this one, the city match, it does the same exact thing as the postal code match, but just on a city level. So again, for big cities, big metropolitan areas, you might have several different zip codes that make up a city. In other places, it might only be one zip code per city. But in this case, we would be limiting search results to a strict city match. So instead of somebody searching, say, 90210, if they search for Beverly Hills, they'll they'll only be presented with member listings that have Beverly Hills as their location. If this is disabled, then they might also see search results from Sherman Oaks, Los Angeles City, Hollywood, other cities within Los Angeles County that, again, are still fall within your default search radius. So if you enable this setting, the strict city match setting, this is great for city-specific directories, but you might want to disable this setting if some of your website searchers might be searching for, say, their own zip code, which might be a suburb outside of a city. So say maybe, for example, cities like Los Angeles, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, where you might have these big metropolitan areas, but you might also have a lot of people kind of within that metro area who live on the outskirts in the suburbs in different zip codes. Then in that case, maybe you want to disable this. So again, with all of these, you really have to kind of think about what locations you're targeting, where your target demographic is located, what areas they might be searching for on your website. Again, kind of the simple fallback would be to leave all of these disabled, but there are specific instances where you might want to enable one or multiple of these strict match settings.
Yeah, and after this next slide coming up, I'll share my personal preference on how to configure these settings for certain use cases.
Yeah, and this last one here, the enforce state and country borders. This is the setting to kind of the greatest extent with relation to all of these. So this sets if search results have to exactly match the state or the country that the website visitor searched for. So this might not be applicable in a lot of cases, but there's a few specific instances that you can kind of think of where this might make sense. You know, if you have a lot of website visitors, say in the northeastern United States, where the states are small, interstate commerce is pretty common, then maybe you'd want to leave this disabled. Or parts of Europe where you have smaller countries, inter-country commerce might be somewhat common. Maybe you'd want to leave this disabled. However, if it's not that common for people to go across the border just for day-to-day things, you know, maybe some Texas towns, some Southern California towns, maybe you would want to enable this so that if somebody's searching for businesses in San Diego, California, they're not going to get presented with members that you have on your website located in Mexico. So again, some specific instances where you may or may not want to enable some of these settings, but in those specific instances where you do want to limit or constrict or bound the location-based search results that your visitors are presented with, some of these settings might come in handy.
Well said. And let's go back to the admin area. I'll kind of show you guys my personal preference as a general catch-all for how we should, how you could enable or disable these settings. And also part of this depends on how many records you have in your site, how many business listings you have in your site. If you don't have that many business listings right now, you might kind of on purpose want to show visitors more results, and they're going to get more results if these settings are disabled. But once your site's more established with lots of listings in many different regions and areas, we can confidently enable these to give the visitor a better experience. So my personal preference for this is when your site is starting out, I would choose to disable the postal code and the city match. Again, it depends a little bit on the focus of your site, but just as if we're speaking generally, I would disable the strict postal code match and the strict city match. However, I would enable the enforce state and country borders. That would probably give the best user experience to the most amount of visitors on your site. And then lastly, I would stick with the default search radius. I'd set that to 50. Basically 50 miles away, if we really wanted to calculate it, is somewhere around an hour's drive time, give or take. So that would be a reasonable amount of distance to maybe present to a visitor that's looking for a local business. Again, if you can extend the radius further, even 500, but then you're getting into maybe unrelated territory, especially when someone's doing a location search. 500 may simply just be too much. One of the good things about the Brilliant Directories platform is when visitors are doing a location-based search, the old way to do it is select your country, select your state, select your county, select your city, all with multiple drop downs. But if you go to any website now, Yelp, Yellow Pages, they all have smart location searches. So you can basically type in anything. You can search an entire state. You can search neighborhoods or landmarks. I'll just type in Washington Monument, or maybe not landmark, excuse me, but you could search neighborhoods and nicknames of neighborhoods, and they will come up as recommended suggestions here. So whatever the user is thinking, the visitor is thinking in their head, they could probably find that location just by typing in a few words here, and then the results will match that, and also based on the settings you've set here. So if you're unsure, I would set 50 for the radius. This is also related to lead matching. So it's not just the search radius. So when we're matching leads with our members, if we have a member in Hollywood, for example, we'll just stick with the California cities examples here, and the lead was for Beverly Hills, if we're going to sell that lead to one of our business listings, we don't want our business listing to be 500 miles away from the lead that's come in. Now, again, depends on the focus of your site, but if we're just talking about brick and mortar businesses and professionals, general drive time that might be reasonable would be under an hour, or even need to be shorter. So that's why I think the 50-mile radius is a good catch-all and starting point for most sites. And then again, postal code I disable, city match I'll disable, and enforcing the state and country borders I would enable. David, did you set up some examples on this site for us to kind of show what the results might be with these settings on and off?
Yeah, so our sample member 1 member listing,
Okay.
they're located in Chula Vista, and the zip code for them is 91914. So this is just an area down in San Diego County. It's close to the southern United States, northern Mexico border. So we do have a member located in Tijuana as well. That's sample member 2. So if we were to enable the strict country setting, then we would not be presented with that Tijuana member in the search results.
This is a great example here. So Chula Vista is a city near San Diego, California, also very close to the US-Mexico border. So I searched for Chula Vista. This result is 1.9 miles away within Chula Vista. But we do see that because our border radius is 50, we're also seeing other listings that are within, oops, I clicked that by accident, that are within 50 miles of that search location, including listings that are in Mexico here. So let's enable the enforce state and country borders. I'll save the changes here. And again, right now we're seeing US and Mexico. Let's refresh this with the enforcing the borders of the state and country searched. And we see here now that the Mexico listing is now gone. And let's take it one step further. We're seeing results. Let's limit the radius to 10. So we see 2 results within 10 miles from the searched location. And let's switch this from 50 to 10. So anything over 10 should go away. We're seeing 14 total results now. We should just see 2 now. And we see 2. So we see what limiting the radius does to the search results. So we want to strike a balance between giving the visitor relevant results, as well as giving them a good experience at the same time, giving them some options. Let's disable the enforce state and country borders. And let's see if that Mexico one shows back up in here. I think they were within 10 miles. They were 8. Yep. There we go. So this is a great example. Also, that really relevant for cities that are nearby state borders, like between California and Nevada. When we say state, this also works for provinces in Canada and New Zealand and Australia as well. Those are considered quote unquote states as well. Great presentation there, David. Is there any final thing you'd like to add before we move on to the questions and answers?
I think that's it. I think, it's just important, again, to keep in mind who the target demographic is, the target user base, and where your website locationally is targeting. If it's targeting, an entire country, just a small area, again, if, say you take the Northeastern United States, if you're focused on like the tri-state area, some of these settings you might actually want to play with. You might enable them differently than most other websites would if you have that cross-state, cross-country commerce that might be typical in one area that's not in another. So a lot of different use cases here with these 3 settings.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I learned a little bit there as well. So good stuff. I'll put the banner on the screen here. If you'd like us to unmute your microphone, join us at brilliantdirectories.com/stream. Just type in question in all caps. That'll let us know and indicate to us that you'd want your microphone unmuted. All right, let's see. We got a question here from Neil from App Crazy. He says, since we have the big wigs available, it would be amazing for us to have the ability to share profile visits to our members in an easy way, perhaps via email with a PDF report. We are bouncing ideas off here, Neil, to create short code for your email. So if you wanted to email your members, you just as an example here, you could put profile stat June website visit as the variable, and it would do that dynamically in an email that you send them. We haven't done anything with it yet. Also, I know the guys at Directory Gurus it's one of the marketplace partners. They are working on more metrics and analytics plugin. They have a really good free version that they're slowly rolling out, and they might be working on something like this as well. But we are exploring a method to do this. It is being asked for more and more. So thank you for bringing that up. Okay, Andrew, thank you for your question. Andrew's asking, do you have to connect the Google API to pull in business data to a new directory? I'm in Canada and just building a site. So that's a really good question there. I'll show you 2 things. If you're using the Instant Business Importer tool, that's part of Brilliant Directories, you don't have to connect anything Google API. This is an all-inclusive tool. So if you wanted to search for plumbers in, say, British Columbia, I will say here in Canada, let's see how many results we get here. So there's 327 plumbers in British Columbia. You can just add this to your site and it will populate your site with 300 plus plumbers from British Columbia. It'll create their listings. It'll also create an SEO friendly, unique description for each listing as well. Now, if you were going to import a list that you have yourself, you will want to connect, if you were going to import a CSV file, Andrew, you will want to connect your Google Maps API. After your import, we will want to what's called geocode your members, which basically maps their longitude and latitude. And for that process, you will want to have your Google Maps API connected to your site. That will then support searching for those members based on location, kind of how we've been showing in the tip of the week today, for the listings that you've imported with the CSV file. I think a shortcut is if you have the latitude and longitude in your import file, you could skip and forego the separate geocoding process. But most people, from when they're importing, they just kind of have the full street address for a business. They don't necessarily have the lat and longitude. But if you have that, you could skip the Google Maps, the geocoding step for that. So thank you for that question there. All right, we got, I think this is Ryan here, Directory Videos. Good to see you. Can the names be added to other webhooks as well, like plan names versus ID for paid sign up as an example? Can't the names be added to the other webhooks? If there's data missing from one of the webhooks that you'd like to see, Ryan, email the support team. They're pretty quick to update that. It's pretty easy on our side. So if we forgot something or if we omitted a piece of a data point that would be helpful in a webhook or even with the API, email the support team and they will make sure to include that pretty quickly, actually. So I think that's what you're asking, that you're looking for some info. You'd like the full plan name versus the ID. If you can just email the support team, they can add those details. That's super helpful that you've suggested that. Thank you.
We do have Michael here who wanted to ask a question. Hey, Michael.
Yeah, hey there. Great to be on this week. So I had a question related to a couple of modules that I haven't heard talked about on any recent webinars, and I think they're a couple of the best features of the whole platform. So one is the classifieds module, and the other is the job postings module. So I'm working on launching both of these, and I want to make them both available to all of my members, regardless of which finance plan they're on. So the question I have, my members pay, a monthly fee for being in the directory. And with both classifieds and job postings, it allows you to charge per listing. But, and I'm thinking this might be something that would be valuable to everyone in the community. It seems like it would make sense to allow for recurring payments for either one, for job postings or classifieds. And, I was planning to initially use the digital products to manually add recurring payments, but is there a way to add recurring payments for either one, or is it something that maybe would make sense to add in?
I love this question. Thank you for bringing it up, and it's glad to hear. I'm glad to hear you're using the pay per post tool. So for those of you who aren't familiar, if you're allowing your members the privilege to publish content to the site, such as classifieds, sometimes we want to ask the members pay a nominal fee like $5 or $10 or whatever makes sense for your site and industry to publish a post. This is generally, as Michael is suggesting and saying, it is a one-time fee to publish that post. There isn't anything for recurring right now for the pay per post. It's usually you pay the fee and then that's good for one post. If you want to publish another post, you pay the fee again. However, I do have a small workaround that might be useful in your case here. What we can do is, and let me just set expiration date for classifieds. Brilliant. Don't mind the spelling there. Okay. What we can do is add a hidden expiration date. So when somebody pays for the post and publishes it, we can set it to auto expire, for example, in 30 days. And that will set the post back to a draft mode. And if they wanted to kind of republish that post or renew that same post, they would have to pay that fee again. While this isn't an automated recurring for the post, it does create some type of a cycle. And generally with classified posts, there is some type of an inherent expiration date of some sort, just to keep the site fresh. So things don't accumulate on a classifieds marketplace site over time. So this would be the closest workaround that I could suggest right now, Michael. And perhaps you could work this somehow into your workflow. And when the post, is auto expired or when a certain date gets set, you could probably use a webhook or something to send the member a reminder or asking them if they want to renew their post with an email. So that could be a workaround for you there.
Okay, no, that helps out. And one little follow-up question. Is it possible to set the links that are in either type of ad as no follow?
Yeah, definitely. So this is so what Michael's asking is your members can add links in the descriptions. I think that's one of the options. What we can do here is go to our membership plan settings. And if we edit a membership plan, let me see here. I'm hitting another. There we go. So I'll just edit one of these membership plans here. And I think the setting for links on it's in the search visibility tab here. And here it is, add no follow to member web links. This would apply to if they add links in their about section, or if they add links into their post descriptions, their classified descriptions as well. So you can set this to no follow, which is generally good practice, because do follow links, the opposite of no follow, is really a privilege to receive those. So
yeah,
you might want to reserve that for your higher tiered members as one of the perks is that they're links, but that can even get over abused even in those tiers, especially for things that user generated content such as classified listings.
Yeah, that's all helpful. And I think that makes a lot of sense because there are all kinds of spammers out there trying to post links all over the place. So, and just a final question related to payments. I know that Razorpay was recently launched for users over in, I believe, India. Is that the main market for Razorpay?
Yes, it is.
Right. So, can you just elaborate a little bit on the integration? Is it similar to other integrations where it's right in the checkout, or is it separate and then they come back to the site, or how does that work?
Great point. So there's mainly two types of different payment gateway setups. We call them on-site and off-site. So if you're using, for example, PayPal Standard, which all you have to do is connect your PayPal email and you can accept payments on your site, the user is directed during the checkout process. They go to PayPal real quick, complete their payment, and then they come back and then they're redirected back to your site. We're kind of all used to that. Then there's on-site gateways. Those require a little bit more setup. Not really. They're just more robust, we'll say. So gateways like Stripe or Stripe or PayPal Pro. Is it not the PayPal Standard? Those keep the users on the site. That's kind of where they just put their credit card in, and it's all a streamlined process. It's a little what we call more frictionless, or there's less friction during the sign up process because everything's on site. I think that's a preferred way to go. But again, if for people who are just starting out and just need a quick gateway, the off-site gateway options are usually easier, more accessible to start your site with. Good stuff there, Michael. Thank you for those questions. All good stuff. And let's go back here. We got some other questions typed in here. We got some starred ones here. Thank you, David, for helping with those. Let's see here. Is it possible to have multiple banners, veteran-owned, women-owned? You can have badges on your site. There are different ways to have profiles categorized as, for example, veteran owned or women owned. That could be a subcategory on the site, and you could use the dynamic filtering if you wanted to kind of search for those types of businesses. You can also perhaps add badges. Let me send a couple links that I think would be helpful for this. One is you could just make them top level categories, but that would force them to choose one. Someone might be a women and veteran owned business. What I like is actually this one, since that's important and you might want visitors to search specifically by that criteria, if that's important. I would recommend the dynamic category filtering, and then create for those types of labels, create a subcategory and list them as subcategories. So I'll just share this link here for the dynamic category. And the reason I like this is in the sidebar here, you kind of get like an Amazon search. So, one of your subcategories can be business ownership type, and then you can allow the member to choose veteran owned, women owned, whatever those would be. And then the visitor can see them and filter for them here. If you're going to maybe make them membership plans, I think the dynamic category might be your best bet. But I'll just share this one as well, the member badges add-on as well. This way you can put actually badges just like accolades onto their profile pages. It's a good question there. So a few ways to do that one, and there's other workarounds as well. But I think the dynamic category filtering and having it as a sub and subcategory might be the easiest and most direct way to achieve that. Okay, let's see here. Michael's got a question. Is it possible to list a subcategory or subcategory in the contact details on the required best describes you? Yes, so you can actually move these around, Michael. Let me actually show you a demonstration of that real quick. So let's log in as a member here. We have to log into a member that actually has a subcategory. So let's go to sub-level categories. And let's refresh this here. There we go. Okay, there's 3 members in subcategory 1. Let me log in as one of those members. So you can move them to the different forms. I'll show you what I mean. Let's log in as this member. So what Michael's asking, and let me move the comment out of the way here. So when you go to basic information, their basic contact details, we have kind of, it's kind of like hidden in here, but we're asking what best describes them. We're trying to get their top level category. And after they set their top level category, then they can do their profile photo. And then we have additional details, which is where we ask for additional subcategories they can be assigned to. And they're in two different tabs. And what he's asking is, can you move this module here under the best describes you? And yes, you certainly can. Let me show you exactly how you can do that. Let me go back here to additional details. You will have to edit the form, right? These are all forms. And this is one of the form fields. We're going to add this form field into the basic information form. So let me just quickly grab the form field name. Let's achieve this together while we're on the call so we can make sure it does work like this. Okay, so this widget is the Bootstrap theme account select categories widget. Okay, let me just copy the shortcode for this. Great. And I'm going to go back. And for those of you who don't know, what I'm doing is I'm using the admin bar to identify what elements are on the site. So I figured out which widget this was here. Let's go to the basic information and let's figure out which form this is. Now we can also find out which form it is. Let's go to show widgets again. And we can see here, if I scroll down, it is the listing contact details member form. And it looks like it's already customized on this site, which is fine. We'll add that widget under the best describes you. So let's edit this. Okay, great. And again, this is our demo site here. We've messed with this a bit, but I'll just go ahead and add this under the, I don't know exactly where to add it. I'll just add it right here. Let's add a field. So what we can do is we just want to put the widget shortcode in here. So actually what we want is custom HTML, and we're just going to drop the widget shortcode in here. I'm going to paste this into the comments for you since you were asking about that, Michael. That's the name of the widget, and let's save the changes. Yep, we have to give it a variable. I think it's sub. You can name it anything. I'll just name it sub. Okay. And everyone's crossing their fingers because we just did a whole production here to get this to show here. Let's see if this works. Yeah, so I wasn't sure exactly where I was adding it. I need to move it a little higher up in the form, but yeah, we can see it's listed here. And I think if you do change the top level category, it will update this. Yeah, it went away. I chose plumber. We don't have any subcategories under plumber, so it went away. If I go back to top level category, we can see here that it is showing here. So again, I pasted the name of the widget there for you in the comments. We just want to add it as a custom HTML field to the form, and it will then be added to the contact information form. So success there. All right, good question. Thank you, Michael. Our good friend Megan here regarding search limitations. Some of our members act globally via online, like in health. So would I just leave everything disabled? You can leave everything disabled. You might want to set a higher search radius, maybe set it to 100 or 250. When people do a location search by default, it is in distance order. So if a visitor's on your site and they're going to page 3 or 4 and they notice that the listings are 400 miles away, they're pretty smart. They'll figure out, I don't want to go this deep, and they'll either search a different area or they'll go back to the earlier pages of the search results. So to answer your question, feel free to, especially if it's globally, leave everything disabled and just let the visitor do their search. However, if you do like 1,000 radius, that could span multiple countries. That might not be relevant enough. So just play with the radius and see where you're comfortable with the results after doing a few sample searches on your site for locations yourself. Okay, here we go. So Nancy's asking, back to the search instance, would you consider allowing the user to select the size of the search area? So there is a secret hidden widget. I don't even know if it still works with BD. Let's find out. There is a widget that we had for the sidebar. As we can see here, You can search by, by keyword and location. There was one that lets you search by location and the user can choose their radius themselves. Let me just find out which sidebar this is. Let's add the sidebar in. You guys kind of get to see me use the show widgets tool on the front end. Again, if you're not everyone needs to do this, but once you get more familiar with the platform, it really helps you find things. So now I know which sidebar this is to edit. I'm going to add this radius search widget that I think is here. So let me customize this default sidebar and search for radius. Search local radius search. I'll just put this at the top here. And if we see this working, Nancy, I'll paste the name of this widget in for you. It is just a location search, so it doesn't have the keyword. So here we go. So this one is a widget that we had. And let's search for Chula Vista because David used that as the example here. And let's put 1 mile, or I guess 5 miles would be the smallest here, and click to search. And it doesn't look like it got any results. Again, this is an older widget. I'm not sure if it works. Let's search for just California and see if we get results. California got results. Here's Camarillo, California. Let's search for Camarillo, California and see if we at least get this result here. Yep, we did. Let's increase the mile. So this was within 1 mile. Let's set this to something really high, like 100. So 100-mile radius within Camarillo. Yep, 196 results. So this is actually overriding the default search, I believe, the radius that we said. I think let's go here and see who's furthest out. Yeah, this is saying within 1 mile. This is an older widget. I don't know if we fully support this anymore. It would be nice if we could. If you want to play around with this, though, I don't want to stop you. Let me give you the name of this widget. You can do some tests on your site. Let me just click on this. And you can pop this into your sidebar here. I'll put it in the comments for you, Nancy. So you can search for that in your sidebar and add it in there. I think it's sending the comment now. Let's see if that went through. Yep. Okay. So yeah, give that a try. It should work. So if you're noticing issues with it, please report it to the support team. They might just, again, it's an older tool that we had for sidebars that I really haven't seen in a while, but we may want to get that reconfigured and working again. So thank you. Okay, Francis is asking, is it possible to embed a form within BD? Yes. So really anything you can that's meant to be embedded on other websites, just like YouTube videos, forms will work the same way. So if you have an embed code for a form from, for example, Zoho Forms, Jotform, Typeform, all those tools are form builder tools and they're meant to be dropped into your website. Just get the code and what you can do is drop it into a widget and then put that widget anywhere you want on your site. So widgets are cool. It's basically you can get snippets of code, embed code, and then put them in different places on your BD site. And if the code is valid, the embed code that you were provided by the third-party company, the form company or whatever, it should render and display on your BD site. Ooh, I like this next question. All right. How do I message all members at once? Great question. So you could do two things. Message, I'm assuming you want to send them all an email. That's how they would receive your message. You could do it that way. What you could do is come to your search members page, and you should already have this, but then create a smart list. And we could just say all my members. And when you create a smart list here on this page, it's based on the filters you did in the background. In this case, we didn't do any filters. So all the members of my site, 987, even when new members join my site, they'll be part of this smart list. I'll just hit save changes. Great. And the second step, again, what's cool about BD, it's all in one and built in, is you can then send a newsletter. And we'll click new email newsletter. I'll just go through the steps with you. We'll give it a nickname. We'll say message all members. Great. And we can choose a template. Maybe we've sent a previous newsletter. We'll just maybe start with a blank template. And once we're here, we can basically send an email. We can choose who it's from. The from name will be Jason. The address will be jason@mywebsite.com. The subject will be I'm messaging everyone. And of course, you can put your contents into the email. And to answer your question, how do I message all of them? Under the Select Recipients tab, you can search for, this is the smart list we created, all my members, and there's all 987 of them there. Now, some of them may be omitted if they're duplicate email addresses. Just because there's 987, some of them we didn't actually have a valid email address because we imported them without an email. But there are 914 what we call qualifying recipients. The email is the correct format. It is a valid email format. It is not our own email address, the website's email address, and some other things here. Duplicate, invalid, or unsubscribed emails are removed from qualifying. So from here, you can schedule the email. And what I like about this is you can send it right away, or you can schedule it for later. So maybe you want to send it tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. or whatever, 4 a.m. when the roosters wake up. You can send it. Now, you do need to connect your domain name. Right now, I'm using the Directory Up domain for this demo site, but once you do that, you can send it. And what's awesome about BD, if we have the forever free emailing plan, you can send up to 1,500 emails per day forever. So yeah, that's how you can email and message all your members there, Donald. Okay, I think I like this question too. Mary's asking, how do we change the top headings on the main page, such as the home, search directory, how it works? I am new to BD and ask the chatbot. I think we covered this in a few webinars. David, I think we did one recently where we talked about the hero section. It might be worth sharing those. Let me quickly find a couple, and I will also show you just very quickly how you can do that as well yourself. So let me just search for hero here. Hero section for web pages. Number 2 in this video. This is from a webinar not too long ago. Hero section for web pages. It's kind of the top heading. The terminology you're using is, as we call it a hero section. I'll put this in the comments here, Mary. A good video to watch overall, not too long, about 10 or 15 minutes. But let me quickly show you, since you're here, where you would go for this. Let's go check out the pricing page or the about page in this sample site as an example. And what BD's really good at is you can very easily make a web page with text and images and things like that. Let's take a look at this about page here. Okay, great. So this is kind of the top heading area. And when you go to the hero section, it will use the titles you have up here. You can choose your image. We kind of talk about it in the video as well. Let me hide your comment here. You have settings for overlay color. You can choose the font. So if you're going to do, if you have a dark image, maybe you want white text. If you have based on contrast. So you just want your font color to contrast. One of my favorite things about these hero sections for the web page builder, you can actually put a button link. So if we want to send people to our, for example, join page, join today, you need this exclamation point. You can choose the button color, and I'll do an extra large button. And what I like about the call to action in the hero section, coders and developers can actually add custom code, but for doing it quick and easy, you can actually have a button there and it'll go to your join page or whatever URL you've defined there. But that is basically how you can do that quick and easy. I'll show you one more thing just because it's easy. If we wanted to left align the text, there's a setting there to left align it, and we'll see this go and move over to the left now. So just depending on the aesthetic you're looking for. But in a nutshell, it's that hero section tab in the web page builder, and there are other ways to kind of enhance this more in that video we show. All right. Annie's asking, what have you found is the best way to make a local directory successful? When you're starting a directory, there's a lot of things. And usually when we're doing it by ourselves, we have to value our time and kind of work efficiently. So what that means is we need to figure out a routine of different things we're going to do to market the site, grow the site, make the site appear seasoned and credible. Really, it's a combination of some soft marketing. Again, a little bit depends on your experience as a digital marketer or an online marketer, because we're promoting a new website that we've created. But starting small is key. Don't think that being small is a disadvantage. It's actually a way to create closer relationships with the members you're trying to serve. Your price points should match the kind of the level of traffic and visibility your site would probably give someone. So you might want to start with free or nominal listings, or depending on how you can present your offering, but probably want to do something fair. I think the best thing I can share with you here is also, again, from our blog. This one is also one of my favorites that David and I did. It's when you're starting out is how to help your site appear more credible. Here it is. It says 25 stats, but it's 25 ways that you can showcase and boost your website's credibility. And this one really focuses on new sites that are starting out, because how do you establish trustworthiness and credibility, etc., when you're first starting out? And this kind of gives you some examples of ways you can leverage those things. There's a lot of good suggestions here. So I'm going to share this here with you, Annie. But again, I know that kind of rambling a bit here, but you want to do a little bit of everything. You want to add content to your site. You want to be proactive. If you're going to, let me put your question back up here. If you're going to start a local directory, go ahead, write a blog article on the top 5 Italian restaurants. And I want to share another one we did here, another blog article, and then list the top 5 restaurants, then reach out to the restaurants and let them know that they've been featured in your article, and invite them to add a listing on your site. There's more automated ways to do this. I'm going to share this here. Spotlight. Okay. This is a tip of the week we did on how to create best of lists. And what was really awesome about this was it utilized the business importer tool. So we would, for example, import Italian restaurants in Los Angeles. So now we got 20 Italian restaurants in Los Angeles on our site. Then with this video, what it shows you is how to use ChatGPT to create a best of article. And you just tell it which listings you want to be the best of. And now you have an article, and we even share with you how to reach out to the businesses to let them know that they've been featured. What I like about creating content along with the listings you're adding to your site, especially articles like this, is you're adding SEO content to your site. You can notify the businesses that have been mentioned in the article. You can also post it on your social media and ask the businesses to post it on their social media, which they probably will, because they just got notoriety being listed as the best of on your site. So now they're helping to kind of refer traffic to your site as well. And yeah, in the beginning, traction might be slow, but when we compound this, and maybe this is our once a week or twice a week, we do this routines for our directory, over time, when you compound that over a month or 6 months time, you're going to have lots of best of articles. You're going to have reached out to lots of businesses. And just make sure that you have a mechanism to capture email addresses, convert them to free members or paying members. Make sure you have those mechanisms in place on your site so that you're not losing out on opportunities, and you have a full ecosystem of creating content and converting them to either a free or later on a paid member of your site. So again, it's like an onion. There's lots of deep layers we can get into, but from a top level perspective, those are some of the quick things that I would recommend for you there. Okay, Nancy's asking, how do you place a return to top arrow on static pages? I think by default on BD sites, let me quickly check here. Could be wrong. There should be, or could be an arrow. That one, we should have one by default. Nancy, there should be one by default. If you would like to email the support team, please do, and they can probably enable that for you. Off the top of my head, I know we had one. It might be an advanced setting to turn on or off. If not, it's a quick ChatGPT input, and you can have, that little arrow in the side of your screen that then takes people back to the top. So I'll leave that one there. But yeah, email the support team, ask them, but also it's a quick ChatGPT question you can get done too. We always like to end with Rich from Podcast Fish Directory, coincidentally here. Rich, good to see you here, by the way. So what happens when a new member joins the smart list? Is there a way to send them the same message, but not to all other members already in the smart list? So that's a good question. When a new member joins a smart list, is there a way to send them the same message, but not to other members already in the smart list? We used to have a feature. We fully overhauled the newsletter system that would prevent the same newsletter from being sent twice if they already received it. There is a way to do that, Rich. Let me show you. It's a small workaround, but it should suffice for what you're looking to do. If we go to the newsletter section here, I don't think I have any sample sends on this site, but I'll kind of walk you through what we want to do. So let's assume that this was a message to all members that we had sent. What you can do, Rich, is if you're going to send this again to, maybe it's a month later and you want to send the same email to the same smart list, go to your previous send and make a smart list click on the number here where it says delivered or total list size. Click on this number. And this is the total list size, but you'll have a button here to create a smart list, and create a smart list that says do not send already received email. And when you're setting up your newsletter again, go ahead and select the smart list you want to email, but exclude the list that you just created from the previous send. That would be the quickest way to do it. So basically create a smart list from the previous sends delivered total, and then exclude them in your next send. And that will prevent them from receiving the same newsletter twice. So this is our demo site. So I'm going to, for the next webinar, make sure we have some sample stats here so I can show that example more clearly. But yeah, based on the number here, click on it, create that smart list, Rich, and then exclude that smart list of already received or already delivered for that newsletter. We had some great questions here today. I see there are some more. We were also able to share some really, really powerful previous webinars, especially this one here. I would, again, highly recommend checking out the best of list. I'm just going to click on the ChatGPT article and prompts that we have, which is a link here. I don't want that to go unnoticed here. The link is here. It links to a Google Doc where we include the ChatGPT prompt that we explain in the video, as well as a sample social media post and how to notify the members that they've been showcased in your best of article as well. We covered a lot here. We went through a lot of different settings. David, thank you so much for really explaining. These are sometimes very confusing, these localization settings and when to apply them. So thank you for creating those slides and going over those. Lots of lab updates to share this week. We have even more coming down the ways. And also we are going into June. The next webinar will be in 2 weeks. We'll be smack dab in the middle of 2025. My, how time flies. The replay will be available in the Brilliant Directories Facebook group. We do invite everyone to join us there. You can head on over to brilliantdirectories.com/Facebook. And for those of you who joined us on YouTube, we did get a lot of questions asked. Yeah, thank you for joining us there. We'll post the YouTube replay in the Facebook group. And on behalf of myself, David, and the entire Brilliant Directories family, this has been awesome, tons of fun, and we look forward to seeing you in the next webinar in 2 weeks, right in the middle of June. Have a brilliant day and a great week, guys. Bye-bye.